When my husband admitted he had gotten his secretary pregnant, I noticed something strange. Not the confession itself, not even the apology that sounded rehearsed. It was how quickly his family shifted into logistics. Within 3 days, I was sitting in his parents' dining room while attorneys arranged folders across polished wood. Nobody asked how I was sleeping. Nobody asked whether I wanted answers. They discussed timelines, signatures, and public appearances as if 22 years of marriage had become a scheduling conflict. His mother finally slid a document toward me. "We're prepared to offer you $2 million if you sign today. No disputes. No interviews, no unnecessary complications." The room fell silent. They expected outrage. Instead, I smiled. "All right." My husband looked relieved before I had even reached for the pen. The divorce papers took less than 10 minutes. When I finished signing, one attorney quietly handed me a sealed envelope. "These are disclosure documents. Please review them before the next hearing." Nobody reacted. It seemed routine. I placed the envelope into my bag and drove home. That evening, I walked through a house that no longer felt like mine. Every photograph suddenly looked staged. Every anniversary gift felt borrowed from another couple's life. For hours, the envelope remained unopened on the kitchen counter. I wasn't avoiding it. I simply didn't have the strength to absorb one more surprise. The next morning, with coffee growing cold beside me, I finally broke the seal. Inside wasn't another settlement, it was a complete financial disclosure. Attached was a letter explaining that all marital assets had to be disclosed by law before the court finalized any agreement. I started reading, then I stopped, then I read everything again. Several properties I had never heard of, investment accounts that had never appeared on our joint tax discussions, a trust created years earlier, business distributions that had never reached our household accounts. Nothing in the documents automatically meant wrongdoing. Wealthy families often structure finances through separate entities, but one thing became immediately obvious. The settlement they had presented as generous represented only a fraction of what legally existed. For the first time since the affair, I didn't feel angry. I felt clear. At the next legal meeting, everyone arrived with the confidence of people expecting a quick conclusion. My husband barely looked at me. His parents chatted quietly with their attorney. When my lawyer placed the disclosure packet on the table, the atmosphere changed. The family's attorney adjusted his glasses before speaking. "For the record, these financial disclosures are required under law and have been provided to all parties." No one interrupted him. "The court expects complete transparency before approving any final agreement." The words were calm, professional, unavoidable. My husband stared at the documents as though seeing them for the first time. His mother slowly leaned back in her chair. Nobody raised their voice. Nobody accused anyone of fraud. The confidence that had filled the room only days earlier quietly disappeared. The meeting ended without the divorce being finalized. Additional reviews would be required. Independent valuations would be completed. The process everyone hoped would last one afternoon would now proceed through proper legal channels. As we walked into the hallway, my husband finally spoke. "I didn't think any of this mattered." I looked at him for a long moment. "The money isn't what matters." He waited. I mattered. There wasn't really anything else to say. Months later, the marriage officially ended. The final agreement looked very different from the first one placed in front of me. Not because I demanded revenge, but because the truth had finally been placed where everyone could see it. People sometimes ask whether I regret signing those first papers so quickly. I don't. If I had argued in that dining room, they would have remembered an angry wife. Instead, they remembered the woman who quietly listened, signed what she believed was appropriate, opened one ordinary envelope, and allowed the legal process to reveal what emotion never could. Some endings don't feel victorious, they simply feel honest. That turned out to be enough.